Welcome back into the Rounding Third podcast. Happy Memorial Day. Thank you to all the veterans that have given the ultimate sacrifice so me and Harrison can sit behind a computer and talk about baseball.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yes, absolutely. So thank you for everything you've sacrificed. Harrison, how are we doing tonight?
Good. How you doing, Nick?
Not too bad. Sean will possibly join us again. We'll see. I'm feeling a little under the weather, so hopefully he'll pop in at some point here. I got my Canes jersey on, Game 7 against the Rangers. So I'm gonna be like kind of in, kind of out. So if there's just random hockey or random shouting, that's why. But yeah,
that'll be a huge game. Huge game.
Oh, and dude, the Canes can't win on the road. They haven't won a single game on the road in the playoffs. It's crazy.
But, no, it's weird. Yeah. It's weird to have gotten this far and not been able to win on the road at all. Thankfully, when you've got home ice, that helps. But boy,
dude, the Caniacs are nuts, man. You got to go to a game there. It's not, they tailgate for like 5 hours before the game even starts. Like it's like football. It's insane.
Well, and then down in your part of the world, the UNC women's lacrosse team won the national championship, and the Maryland Terrapins won the men's lacrosse national championship. It's been busy down that way.
Yeah, UNC girls were undefeated. They didn't lose at all this season. Like they just
same with the Maryland team. The men's Maryland team also undefeated.
And then UNC baseball won the ACC title over NC State yesterday, I think it was. But I'm sure we'll get to that at some point.
And your favorite Tennessee Volunteers got the #1 seed going into the College World Series.
Well, of course. I mean, they got a guy that throws 250. Like,
yeah.
And
you want to face him in Omaha? Absolutely not.
No. Dude, imagine the scouts. Everything behind home plate is going to be just all scouts.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. But all right, before we get going, just like our podcast on Facebook, Rounding Third Baseball Podcast. You can also find the video link on YouTube. So yeah, leading off, we kind of had a weird story pop up that Tommy Pham got a 3-game suspension for slapping Jock Peterson in the back of the head during a pregame warm-up over fantasy football. I mean, listen, if you don't take fantasy football that seriously, I don't want you. In fact, if you're in our Rounding Third Baseball fantasy league and you're not taking it that seriously, you can just stop playing now and quit and tell me, and I'll find somebody that will. Because I mean, that's amazing. And like Jock was like all for it. Like he interviewed about it after the game, told him exactly what was up, and he's like, like there was a lot of money involved, which I'm sure there was with these guys, but I can't even remember why Tommy Pham was upset. It was something about like an injured spot used, but it was
so hilarious. Jock Peterson had stashed a guy on the IL for a little bit longer than he should have, and then brought him out for the playoffs. And there's a whole thing with they felt like Tommy Pham felt like he broke the rules because he was using the IL to stash players, and I don't know, but I mean, he went all Will Smith on Jock Peterson over stashing a guy on the IL in fantasy football. I mean, that is next level dedication and commitment to fantasy sports.
I mean, great. I want to see what their championship trophy looks like. I mean, if they're getting that heated about it, like,
right. Well, and now, so you think about it. So Tommy Pham lost the money, obviously, in the fantasy football pool, but is it going to cost him as much as 3 game checks? I don't know. Like I'm feeling like he might have hurt himself there.
Yeah, it's true. A double whammy there, man. I just saw that and I just started like instantly laughing, and it's just like, goodness. And then there was a video that came out of him like doing it. Yep. Like it's grainy, but like, oh my god, so good.
Well, and the cool thing was like Jock Peterson was like totally cool telling people what happened. Like it was no big deal. Like this is just normal.
Right.
And it was the weirdest thing.
Yeah, this is so cool. But I mean, yeah. Like I said,
but I love the fact here you are. The football season's been over for what, 3 months, 3.5 months,
right?
And you're smacking a guy in the outfield over his use of the IL.
It's 2 months into the season. We're like, you haven't seen the guy yet. Oh my god, yeah, amazing.
Oh man.
Yeah. Also off the top, the MLB extended the pitcher spots on a roster to 14, so they extended it. So I think you still have the same amount of bench players, but they just extended the pitching roster to 14. I mean, I think that's important. I mean, like, you want these guys to be healthy. You don't want to keep moving guys up and down when someone gets hurt, like, because you burn an option every time you right? You get 3 options, right? And then on the third one, you have to clear waivers to come back. Is that what?
That's
think you
how it
can.
works. It's 3
Yeah.
options, and then you've got to start going through the waiver process. There are situations if you don't have enough service time that you can actually there's more options available to you based on if you have amount of service time or not. But generally, the rule of thumb is once you send a guy down for the third time, that's the last freebie. Then after that, he's clearing waivers.
Yeah.
But it's also interesting because, like you mentioned, MLB didn't change the size of the roster. They just are allowing teams to have the flexibility to carry another pitcher if they want to. So it used to be you couldn't carry more than 13 pitchers on a 25-man roster. So 13 pitchers,
Right.
12 position players. MLB's like, with the change in the rules around, guys have to come in and they've got to pitch their certain number of batters, and they're giving teams the ability to carry, 14 and 11 if they want. Not every team's going to do that. Some will, but it just
Right.
gives teams more flexibility in how they make up their roster. And like for the Red Sox this weekend, where they had the doubleheader, would have been nice to have been able to, carry one more pitcher going into the weekend. They ended up using the swap with I can't remember his last name, Dylan, something like that. But the Saturday night starter, they used the the old road trip down and back to Worcester, but they could have planned better.
Yeah, wasn't it like Winkenchik or Winchesky or something like that?
Something like that. I don't know. He didn't pitch terribly well, so I forget.
The thing that's interesting with that though is like you have 14 pitchers, you have 11 position players. That's only 2 guys on the bench.
Right.
Like you're really, I mean, thank God you don't have to pinch hit for the pitcher anymore. That's a big deal. But like you're those 2 guys are sitting on the bench like, oh man, I wish I could play. Like you're just the only 2 in the dugout.
You got your roster of you got your 8 position players and your 1 DH. So there's 9 of your 11 guys. You got 2 guys on the bench.
Right.
I mean, thankfully not in the days of the double switch where one of those guys is going to go into the game later. But I mean, so you figure you got 2 guys on the bench. One of those guys is definitely a catcher. Right. So really, then you've got like a super utility guy. That's all you got.
Yeah. Who is it? Arroyo? Probably Christian Arroyo and Kevin Plawecki, right? Like for the Red Sox.
Yep,
those are the only
Red
2
Sox
sitting
carry.
on the bench. Crazy.
I mean, the Red Sox have not been using the extra pitcher spot because they've had Bradley and Cordero and Arroyo. So the Red Sox have not been carrying the 14th pitcher.
Yeah.
This weekend they thought about it, but they just called the kid up and sent him back down. They did it that way, but it's but yeah, there's not a lot of guys on that bench.
No, that's insane. I mean, do you think that they should ever increase the rosters? I mean, they do. I'm not saying to 40. I'm not saying like the full 40 like they do in August or September, but like, I mean, why not send it to 30? It would cut down on a lot of injuries.
Yeah, there's no argument not to increase the rosters other than the fact they've got to carry the payroll. The only concern they had with expanding the rosters in the past was it allows for more defensive switches and more pinch hitters, and it slows the game down. And how many guys literally are only going to play, in the night or get 1 at bat. They're trying to streamline the game so you're not carrying a guy on the bench who literally can do nothing but swing from his heels in the 9th inning.
Right, mandatory play rule like in Little League.
Right. You don't need a Joey Gallo on your bench. You're just going to come in and try to hit 700 feet.
Yeah. Crazy. So speaking of kind of expanding rosters because of injuries and stuff mid-season, the laundry list for the New York Yankees has officially started. Giancarlo Stanton, Josh Donaldson, Jonathan, I always butcher his last name, Loyaziga.
Yeah, Loyaziga. I don't know.
Loyaziga, whatever. Also a huge arm in that bullpen, by the way.
Yes.
And then who else? There was one other I'm missing him, but they have like 4.
They had Chad Green.
Yeah, Chad Green, another bullpen.
And then Joey Gallo just got back from the COVID list. So, I mean, he was out for a week.
Yeah. So here
Not
they
that
come.
It mattered.
I mean,
he's hitting .012, whatever his average is, but
yeah. And Stanton's is a soft tissue, right? Isn't it like a hamstring or a calf or something like that? I think.
Yeah, Stanton's got it's ankle inflammation.
Ankle. Yeah.
Loyaziga's got a shoulder strain. Let's see. LaCastro is a lat. So you're talking back and shoulder, which is tricky.
Yeah.
Aroldis Chapman is an Achilles. That's a tough one, especially I believe it's on his left ankle, which is his push-off leg, where the Achilles is really critical in anchoring the knee.
Yeah.
But in typical, as we've talked about from the very get-go, the Yankees are a really talented team, but the core of that team is 30 to 60 days. They just always do.
Right. Yeah, until they can prove that they can stay on the field, right? They're going to get hurt. We've been talking about Judge's due for one, but with the contract year, chances are he's not.
No. I mean, I think with being in a contract year, Judge is gonna have to like lose a limb to come off that field, especially after hitting his 18th home run yesterday. I mean, the guy is he's carrying that offense some games.
Yeah.
And losing him would be devastating. Stanton has been okay this year. Donaldson's been okay this year. Judge has been the one stable producer they've had, and if he goes down, it's going to be a summer of hell for the Yankees.
How's LeMahieu's year been? I haven't heard his name much. And I mean that he was a big one to come back because he was out all of last year, but I haven't heard how his season's going. But
he's another guy who started kind of ice cold like the rest of the league. But even then, I mean, it's hard to judge anymore. Like if a guy's having a good season or not. Like LeMahieu's hitting 250 with 3 home runs. I mean, I think given where the offense is in the league this year, it's okay. He's having an okay season. But LeMahieu is I mean, when you look at his career, I mean, he's typically in the 275 to a little over 300 range.
Yeah.
250 is low for him. His OBP is 325, which is also very low for him. That's the second lowest of his career if the season were to finish right now. I mean, has he had a good season? No. Has he had a terrible season? No, because the whole league is down.
Right. But he's also coming off, like I said, like a full year off. Like he didn't play, barely at all last year. He was out for the entire year last year. Like, he might have started the season, but
last year was the year he played nearly every game. It was 20 that he missed a chunk of it, although it was a short season.
20. For some reason, I thought he was out like a huge chunk of time last year. But
no, everybody else was. He was the only guy in the lineup for them every day.
All right. Well, then I'm wrong then. Sorry.
And then in 20, he missed like a third of the season, although it was a short year.
Yeah, right. You're on the 10-day DL or IL, sorry, and you're out for a quarter of the season. But yeah. So I mean, like you said, like the Yankees have tons of talent and they've been playing their asses off and winning a ton of ball games, but the injuries are coming. So
and it always does. I mean, these guys, some of these guys are freak athletes, but they're just not built for endurance. They're just not going to last. I mean,
right.
Giancarlo Stanton played 158 games in 2018. He played 18 in 19, 23 in 20, 139 last year. He missed a few weeks in the middle of the summer and then kind of hobbled around for a chunk of the year. And he was off to a decent start this year, only missed a few games, and now he's potentially gone for a few weeks, depending on how it goes.
I mean, as long as they get him back for the wild card, oh shit. Anyways, Rangers.
Oh, 1-0 already. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, as long as Stanton's back for the wild card game or the playoff runs, I think they're fine. Like he's been the only Yankee that has produced in the postseason for them at all the last couple of years.
Yeah, I mean he kept them alive last year when they were really just circling the drain at the end of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. Crazy. But yeah.
But it's typical. This is the time of year the Yankees start to see guys go down, and the question is how well can they weather the losses? Because in past years they haven't weathered them well.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's also helpful when you're 33-15 and
yeah, you have that. It's kind of like we were talking about the Mets last week, where like Scherzer goes down, but like they have the cushion where they can take that blow, like and get some spot starts out of people and see what else they got for depth,
Well, and what's amazing too is so here the Yankees are at 33-15. Everybody feels like they're running away with the American League. Oh, by the way, the Houston Astros are 31-18, 2 games behind them. And the Astros started off the year horrendously.
They did.
And here they are, 2 games off the Yankees' pace. and doing what they always do, which is finding a way to win ball games.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. I think the Yankees' schedule starts to get a little bit harder here. I've looked ahead a little bit. They got some key series coming up, so I think it will depend on, how they do. So it kind of segues into, but go ahead.
No, I was going to say that the Yankees have had they're 12-8 against teams over 500, but they've only played 20 of their 48 games against teams over 500. So they've had
Right.
not a super hard schedule to start.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll see. And like we've said before too, like baseball evens out. Like
It does.
eventually they'll come back to earth. They will start to level out. And we'll go from
Look
there.
at the Red Sox.
Yeah, exactly. How about so we'll move on to the fifth inning. How about series this week that you had an eye on or that caught your eye?
So the Rays Yankees, I thought was a good series. It was actually close, and they were not high scoring games at all. The Yankees won on Friday 2-0. Then the Rays came back on Saturday, won 3-1, and then Sunday Tampa Bay won again 4-2. Those were almost like playoff feeling games,
right?
In the fact they were tight, they were well pitched. No big innings. It shows the fact that the Rays took 2 out of 3. The Rays are still a legitimate team in the East and in the American League. The Yankees are not going to have a cakewalk here. The Blue Jays are going to find their way too. They had an interesting weekend against the Angels. Was the other series I thought was interesting.
Yeah, that was mine. The Blue Jays sweeping the Angels, and that was a 4-game set, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, and Toronto scored some runs. I mean, they hit.
Yeah.
So
totally.
I think the Red Sox had a nice little run against the Baltimore Orioles, although they're losing right now.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, the Rays showed they're still running with the Yankees, and the Blue Jays showed they're not dead, even though Vladdy's got a wrist issue. So it's going to be the American League East is going to be a hell of a fun race to watch, because you have, I think, 3 legitimate playoff contenders and the Red Sox, who nobody really knows what they are just yet.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and that Orioles team, like, let's be honest, they could be a team here in the future. If they get a couple key pieces here in the next couple years, they're going to be in decent shape, I think. They really could be.
Let's be honest too. Baltimore's 20-29. They would be in 3rd or 4th place of any other division in baseball. Yeah. but they're in the East. I mean, they literally, if you put them in the AL Central, they're 2 games behind the White Sox for 2nd place. You put them out west, they're in 4th place, right on the heels of the Rangers. You put them in the National League East, they're 1 game behind Philadelphia for 3rd. You put them in the Central, they're in 3rd place, ahead of the Pittsburgh Pirates, which is amazing. And then, unfortunately, in the NL West, they'd still be in last, but they'd be 1 game out of 4th place.
And just think that's after them already playing the Yankees, Rays, and Red Sox. They're 20 and 29. Like, they're holding their own.
Get this. The Orioles are 20-29, and they have played 32 games against teams over 500. They're 13-19 against teams over 500.
Yeah.
They've played more games against teams over 500 than about anybody in baseball. When I look down the breakdowns, they've played just as many, if not more, games than anybody against good teams. They've had probably the toughest schedule in baseball to start. Which
it's crazy.
They're not a joke. They're not the joke we thought they'd be. Adley Rutschman is finally up, and he looks like he's legitimate.
He looks like he belongs. He's a big league. He's a big league player for sure.
For sure. And his at bats, the way he looks, his demeanor, the way he is behind the plate, he looks like he's been there 5 years.
Yeah.
The moments aren't too big for him. The game's not too big for him.
I could watch him receive a pitch any day, dude. He's so quiet. So quiet.
Oh, it's
just
like
everything is just like
any kid that ever wants to play catcher should just watch a game with him behind the plate. That's how you do it.
It's insane.
His motion is so smooth. He's so quiet, and he's not a small guy behind the plate. He's a big guy, but he presents a really good target. He doesn't block the umpire's view. He positions his body really well. I have to imagine those pitchers are going to love throwing to him over time.
Absolutely.
As they get to know him. and he's a legitimate hitter. So really, the Orioles got better a week and a half ago when they called him up, and they're not that far off.
And not only that, dude, it's just think about all of the draft picks that the Orioles have received over this year. All the young pitching have all thrown to Adley Rutschman all the way up through the minors. So they are completely familiar with each other. It's not like you're bringing in a free agent JT Realmuto and you're trying to build that chemistry. You know, like this guy literally came up with all of these pitchers that are now on the Orioles. So like they have that chemistry already, you know, just at the big league level. Like talk about developing the right part of the game right there for them. Like, I mean, they're going to be there in the next couple of years for sure. Cedric Mullins is an animal, absolute animal. I love that guy.
He's a freak.
I love that guy so much. I mean, yeah, I think they're in good position. They make a couple big splashes just out of nowhere, free agency, and man, I think you're right though. It's just the division. We've talked about them before. Like,
yeah, I mean, they're a third place ball club in half the divisions in baseball, and here they are in the American League East and dead last. You know, friggin' 13 and a half games out of first place. When in reality, they'd be half as many games out of first place in any other division. It's just if you're the Baltimore Orioles, it's going to be really friggin' hard to rebuild in the American League East. Just is.
Do you think that baseball at some point should go to kind of what hockey does? Like they have the divisions, but then they take the top 8, right, by record, no matter what division you're in. So, you know, your top 3 teams could be in like the Atlantic North or however they division it now. It's like Metro and all that stuff.
Yeah,
but
if
like,
you're the top 8 of the top 8, regardless of division.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
I mean,
the division's only there for scheduling.
I mean, I guess baseball baseball doesn't do that because
it doesn't, because you still have division winners. Right. You still have your 3 division winners, and then you've got all your wild cards.
Right.
So like baseball does a hybrid. Each division winner gets their spot. And then you've got, you know, then they compete for the other wild card spots, where then it doesn't matter what division you're in. You could have 5 teams from the East make the playoffs if 4 of them qualify for the wild card.
Right.
So it's kind of a hybrid, but I mean, the reality of it is that, and you're seeing with the Dodgers right now, baseball's broken. And this was what we thought they were going to address in the CBA was, you know, putting in some kind of a cap, putting in some kind of a floor, making these teams be competitive. And of course, when push came to shove, all the players wanted was more money. They don't care about the competition level of the league.
No.
So these teams like the Orioles that are in good markets with good revenue that can spend 125 to 150 million bucks a season aren't going to compete. They're not going to, and not, they know they can't compete with the Yankees spending $2.25 and the friggin' Dodgers spending $9 billion, whatever they're going to spend on their roster.
And why would you, if you know you're just going to bring up the rear every year? That was really hard for me to say, the rear every year.
But that's what these teams are going to have to do. They're going to have to rely on getting a young group of guys together, making a run for a couple of years, and letting them all go and starting over.
Right.
And that was exactly what the players were frustrated about. They didn't want this whole, you know, this tanking or the perpetual rebuild, but they didn't fix that. So you still have that. And a team like the Orioles, why would you, if you're the owner of the Orioles, why are you going to go spend, say your budget's 150 million? Why spend 150 million when you know that everybody ahead of you is going to spend more because they can?
Right.
So you're not going to be that competitive. So why not just spend like 80 million, put a decent product out there, make some money, and call it a day? Because it's not a level playing field. That's where the NFL's gotten this right. You have to, you can't spend more than this amount of money. You just can't. Period. Right. End of story.
Which they find ways to do it, but you're right. Well, you know, like they restructure a contract or they give it to a signing. They just fucking scored again. God damn. Anyway,
maybe you shouldn't watch anymore.
Jesus, that's bad. Yeah, they had to do something, and that was honestly like the biggest thing they wanted to talk about. It was that in the free agent years that they wanted to solve, and they didn't do any of that. They didn't get anything done.
No, and what's telling is the 8-person executive committee from the Players Association. You know, the guys like Scherzer and Andrew Miller who are there every day. Every single one of them voted against the CBA that all the player reps approved in what they're playing under. So what it tells you is that the players weren't even aligned in what they wanted. this executive committee of the players wanted to fix competition. That everybody else around the league goes, no, I want more money. Just this is going to give me more money. Boom, push the button, let's go. And they didn't fix baseball. So here we are with the payrolls that are just absolutely astronomical. And the irony of it is, Baltimore spending what, like $30 million this year, and they're actually a competitive ball club.
Right. And just think, Scherzer himself is making 43 a year.
Right, he's making more than the bottom 5 teams. I mean, it's insanity.
I can't imagine. I can't even imagine like 500,000 a year, let alone 43 million. But whatever. It's great.
I mean, it's and what's amazing is, like, if you're the Philadelphia Phillies, you're spending 109. You're $232 million in payroll for a team that ain't that good. It just ain't that good.
No.
I mean, the Boston Red Sox are spending $201 million on a team that also ain't that good.
Right. Did you see that Castellanos did it again?
Yeah, that guy has got a knack for ruining like down situations.
Oh my god! I can't believe he did it again, dude. There's like,
this was the Gold Star mothers or whatever. They were giving out the gold stars to the mothers who had sons that they lost, right?
Yeah, and then he just like blasts one 460 feet. Yeah. So for those of you that don't know,
third time.
Third or fourth time. Like it started with, it was Tom Brenneman, right? He said something on the air, and he was like mid apology, and he's like, I apologize for what I said, and then Castellanos just blasts one, and instead of like finishing his apology, he like does his job. And this is kind of like the Eminem SOS podcast that kind of we go on sometimes. This is their running joke, and they're just like, it's a deep fly ball left field. Nicholas Castellanos, and it's gone. And then he finishes his apology. But yeah, it's like the fourth time that he's done it in like a somber moment. He just turns around and blasts one. It's crazy.
It's nuts. It really is nuts.
Yeah.
So to give you an idea, so the Baltimore Orioles have the lowest payroll in baseball at $45.5 million, and that includes like dead money, stuff like that.
Right.
$45.6 million, which is effectively what Max Scherzer's earning. And then you've got the New York Mets in the top seat with $259 million, of which we know how much of that belongs to Robinson Cano, who's gone.
Right.
And what's amazing with the New York Mets is they've got $84 million in payroll currently injured. So that would be DeGrom, Scherzer, and a few other guys.
Insane. But I mean, we knew that. We knew the Mets were going to spend this offseason as soon as they signed. Who was the first one they signed over there?
Wasn't it Scherzer? Wasn't Scherzer the big splash?
He was the big splash, but they made a whole bunch of moves, and we're like, okay, like the Mets are in. But yeah, it was Scherzer, it was Escobar, it was Canna, there was Bassett, the trade. Like we knew they were all in, but yeah.
So the league average is $147.2 million this year.
Right. But like you said, like the top teams bring that up because the 8 bottom teams are low.
Yeah, there's 6 teams over 200 million.
Yeah. And then how many are below 50?
Only 2 below 50. The A's and the Orioles.
A's and the Orioles. Oh, the Pirates are now above 50 because they extended Hayes and and Reynolds. That's the only reason.
So the Pirates and the Guardians are next at 69.4 and 68.2.
And that's all Jose Ramirez.
It's Jose Ramirez, and then you got the Pirates who extended a couple of guys too. So the Miami Marlins are 26 at 80.5.
So O'Neal Cruz, dude, staying on the Pirates real quick, is tanking in AAA right now. He's only hitting like 200, if that. I think it was like $190. I watched their game the other day, and they were talking about him, and I guess he's struggling hard. So I don't even know if we'll see him up this year, which is terrible because everyone thought he should have made the big league roster.
No, and there's been some reports from the farm that he is not happy. He's frustrated. He's got, I guess he's got some sort of ankle injury right now too, but he hit that bomb that was like 1,000,000 feet that he kind of like, bat flipped
Yeah, I remember
and all that. And he had a few more after that. And then he went on a tear of just like, kind of bloops and base hits, and he kind of went ice cold. But there's been some talk about him being really frustrated to be down at AAA because he knows it's a joke and everybody knows it's a joke. And he thought he'd get the May call up, like they're going to mess with the service time, and he didn't get the May call up. And
Right.
I think that's a young guy with a fragile psyche that he might just check out on them because he's frustrated.
I mean, that's hard, right? I mean, you're like clearly the number one prospect in their system. You have a crazy spring and you're expecting to make the club, and they're just like, you need more time. Like, sorry. Like, you're highly touted league wide, but we don't think you're big league ready. When the Pirates themselves have a AA roster, like,
right?
I just didn't.
It's embarrassing.
Yeah,
your really best player by far is in the minor leagues, and yeah, I mean, he started off. He ended April hitting 176.
Yeah.
And then since then, he's hit 320 with 5 home runs and 12 RBIs. So I mean, he's found his swing. And I think some of it was some frustration on his part. I think some of it was him probably overswinging to try to prove his point, because he did hit that massive bomb that got national attention right out of the gate.
Mm-hmm.
But the Pirates run the risk of really messing this guy up, leaving him down there, and having him spend a lot of time thinking about it. These young players, especially some of these young players that are coming out of these other countries, they don't understand the development cycle. All they know is they are really, really good and they should be up there.
Right.
And I look at a guy like Manny Ramirez, who, he came to the minors fast, but he even hit some bumps in the road because for him it was frustrating and annoying, and I should be up there. And
right.
Which
they're not necessarily wrong, but
no.
And
sending him down was stupid. Everybody knew, the whole world knew it was kind of ridiculous to demote him. But
yeah,
I hope they bring him up soon, because I think seeing him at the big league level would be a lot of fun. That guy is that guy, when he makes contact, it goes a long way.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you got for series coming up this week that you're interested in?
So coming up this week, I'm interested in the Rays and the Rangers. The Rangers have been on a nice little run lately. They've gotten back to 500. They look pretty good. That series kicks off later this week. I do think that'll be fun. We've got the Angels coming to New York to face the Yankees. You got Ohtani pitching on Thursday night.
Yeah, that one's going to be awesome. I have Angels Yankees there too.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. And then I also find I'm interested to see Cardinals Cubs, because I feel like the Cubs are kind of lost and the Cardinals are clearly the class of that division. But those two teams always have epic battles.
Yeah. I also have on my radar like the White Sox and Blue Jays, with the Blue Jays getting back on track after Anaheim kind of going to the south side here.
Yep.
I think that could be an interesting matchup there. But yeah.
Yeah. And one other series too, end of the week. The Mets travel out to LA to play the Dodgers. That'll be interesting.
Early test right there for both teams.
Yeah, it's the top two teams just beating up on each other. The Dodgers have not announced a starter for any of those games, which I don't understand. But
what is it? They said this weekend?
Yeah,
it might still be early. They might try to get rid of this series first and then announce.
Yeah,
them.
they're all TBD. Where the Mets are going to start Taijuan Walker, and they've got it all pretty well scheduled in. But I don't know if that's just the thing the Dodgers do. They don't like to tell anybody anything. But it's weird. It's weird that they've got no announced starters when everybody else does.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. Yeah. All right, we'll move on to seventh inning, where they haven't really done players of the week, I think, because of the holiday today. There was a story in Alcantara last week. And like Harrison said before, it probably could be them again, because
it could be them again.
They were still hot. I have the one guy Paul Goldschmidt, in 19-game hit streak, and is hitting 449 in that hit streak. Like, the guy, every time I put on highlights, it seems like he's hitting a walk-off grand slam somewhere. Like,
oh, it's crazy.
The guy has been on fire, and I'm glad for him, because he rotted away in Arizona for so long, And like even his first couple of years in St. Louis, he was like steady, but he wasn't like the Paul Goldschmidt in Arizona. But this year, with Arenado raking like he is and stuff, like he's getting the protection, and like the Cardinals are legit, and they're big. He's a big reason why. But
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Goldschmidt had a ridiculous run. Trevor Story continues to remain red hot, which is, I mean, some of it's carryover, but I mean that man is still raking. Manny Machado remains hot. Taylor Ward out in Anaheim remains hot.
Yeah.
Goldschmidt's been absolutely lights out. Arenado's still hitting, but Goldschmidt's been so hot we've forgotten about it.
Right. Yeah, it's insane.
And then Pete Alonso in New York with the Mets.
Yeah.
He's been tearing the cover off the ball, and Aaron Judge hit number 18 yesterday. So there is no shortage of guys that are absolutely raking right now.
And that entire Marlins pitching staff, please, like Pablo Lopez, Sandy Alcantara, like get those two guys right now.
Silly.
Could be a 1 or 2 on any team in the league. And I'm saying any team in the league right now. These guys have been dominant.
And to look into the Red Sox backyard for a minute here, I mean, you've got JD Martinez, who's been not necessarily big power numbers, but the guy's hitting 379.
And he's got like a 40 game on base streak or something like that. Like he hasn't not been on base since he's played.
And you got a guy, Nick Pivetta, who I think's given up 1 run the whole month of May. I mean, the guy's that guy's also been lights out.
Yeah.
One guy who's been thoroughly disappointing in the month of May is Dylan Cease. He's been getting hit hard.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Yeah, he had that weird start last night or last week that we talked about. He struck out 11 in 4 innings, which means only one person either flew out, grounded out, and so he struck out 11 but gave up 6. Like it's like weird. Dude gave up 6 bombs, but
yeah, and then along the White Sox news, they're parting ways with Dallas Keuchel, who they owe a bunch of money to, who's completely lost it.
I mean, honestly, man, like he's been throwing like 85 to 87 for the last 2 or 3 years. The way that man still had a job, or they gave him that contract, blew my mind, to be completely honest.
Well, and I think what made him so good in Houston was that he could throw that off-speed stuff and force people to go to center and right center, which is huge.
Yeah.
Got a lot of flyouts to George Springer out there.
Yeah.
It just hasn't translated well to Chicago, where not to make fun of the Windy City, but the wind is blowing out at that park pretty much every night. I mean, there's almost never a game that wind is blowing in, and he gives up a lot of fly balls and a lot of off-speed stuff, and it carries. And he has gotten hit really, really hard, and his command's been bad. His off-speed stuff hasn't been good. He's not been good for a year and a half now. Yeah. And they paid him a lot of money, and they just it's kind of a bold move after the Mets dumped Cano and all that money, which looks like the right decision because he's been awful in San Diego. Keuchel's the next guy where these teams gave him a big contract and are realizing it was a mistake. Let's just call it now and move on.
Yeah, absolutely. When your changeup is the same speed as your fastball, it's not doing anything.
Yeah, there's something wrong with. Yeah. It's either mechanical or he's got something with his shoulder, but there's no deception on his pitches. There's no movement. His changeup is straight.
Yeah.
Like he always had that little fade on the changeup that's just not there. It's just straight.
And he's older now too. He's got to be mid-30s at least. Right?
Yeah, 34, I think I saw.
Yeah, he's got to be.
But he used to get a lot of ground balls, people rolling over stuff. Now he's getting a lot of balls in the air that are carrying. Velocity's down. I mean, he's got a 364 batting average against. Batting average balls in play. And when they're making contact, they're making hard contact. It's finding a hole.
Yeah.
So it's just not good. He's not getting the ground balls he used to on the off-speed stuff because it's not moving. There's no deception. He's just throwing batting practice right now.
And last 2 outings.
Good for the White Sox to make the move.
Right. Last 2 outings, 2 innings pitched, 7 hits, 6 runs. That was against the Sox. And then against the Yankees, 4 innings pitched, 6 hits, 6 runs. He had a decent start against the Yankees on May 14th, but he only went 5 innings, 4 hits.
Yeah.
It says 0 runs. Oh, that was his current ERA was a 5.54. But yeah, he They dumped him at a 7.88.
Yeah, he's at a 7.88 ERA. He's got as many walks as strikeouts. 20 each, because he's afraid to throw strikes because everything's getting hit hard.
Yeah, exactly.
And what worked well in Houston was the ground balls and the soft pop-ups to center and right center. He's not getting that anymore. And he's just not. He's not. There's no deception. He's not getting anybody jumping out. They're just sitting back and driving what he throws.
Yeah, it's too bad. All right, so yeah, we'll move on from players of the week, and we'll go on to the rounding third question, which was, if the Red Sox could deal for anyone right now, like everybody's on the board, but it has to be a realistic trade, who would you choose? Who would you choose to trade for? And we got 2 responses, and I think they were interesting takes. We got Nick from the SOS podcast. He said he would trade Rafael Devers and Garrett Whitlock for Michael Brousseau and Josh Hader just to get a closer. Like, yeah. I mean, that was interesting to me. I mean, the part about giving Devers up kind of gives me hesitation, but I think it also depends on where both teams are at that point.
Right.
If the Brewers aren't going to be sellers, they're not going to give out Josh Hader.
Nope.
Would I like Josh Hader? Hell freaking yes, I would.
Yeah. Who wouldn't? Come on.
Right. And Michael Brousseau is not a bad bat either. He's a batting average guy. He can hit for occasional power. People might know him as he hit that huge home run for the Rays in 2020 off. Who was it off? I can't even remember, but he came up, pinch hit, and just drove one out of the park. But yeah, I mean, it would be a good trade, but Devers scares me. If Devers isn't going to re-sign, then fine, get something for him. Yeah. But we still have another year and a half with Devers. If Devers was in the Bogart situation right now, absolutely. But he's not. So that's where I'm at with that. I love Garrett Whitlock, but the Red Sox need a closer bad. They need a back-end bullpen guy really, really bad.
Agreed. I mean, and they've got to, I applaud them for sending Brazier down. And I know he's your favorite guy, Nick.
Oh my God! Thank God.
I applaud them for finally sending Brazier down, realizing that this is not a couple of bad outings. Like his fastball's flat. He's throwing batting practice at a high speed. And so I applaud them for doing that. Matt Barnes has got to go. Like they've got to get rid of that guy. He was an all-star last year, and then he completely fell apart in the second half.
Yeah,
he's never been the same since.
Yeah, his first half was like knockout stuff. Like probably the best closer in baseball.
Yeah.
Then after the All-Star game, he was never the same.
No, and he hasn't been the same guy now for coming up on a year.
Yeah.
And you've either got to send him down to try to figure out what's wrong with him and salvage him, or you just dump him and move on. I don't know that he'll ever be the same guy.
You know who he's kind of reminding me of right now is Daniel Bard.
Yeah. Well, and look at Daniel Bard show up all these years later.
7 years later, he made it back to the big leagues, dude. That's nuts. Like that, I love that story. It's so awesome. But Matt Barnes kind of reminds me of that. I just drew a blank. Daniel Bard came up and he had filthy stuff. I mean, he was
throwing nearly 100 miles an hour. I mean,
yeah, with an 85-mile-an-hour slider that was just devastating. I mean, he was legit. And then he hit kind of the same snag that Matt Barnes is hitting right now. And it took him 7 years to get back on the horse, but he came back and he's still with Colorado, and I think he's their closer out there.
He's been good. I mean, he hasn't been great, but he's been good.
Yeah.
And he's not the same pitcher he was. So the velocity's not like it used to be.
Right.
But he's a better pitcher. The problem with Bard, and maybe it's true with Barnes, they were throwers. They were guys that threw gas, that had an off-speed pitch or two that were okay. And once the league figured it out and sat on and waited for the heat, they just hit these guys.
Well, and that's the thing too, is everybody throws triple digits, so their heat isn't even really unique anymore. Like they see it all the time.
Yeah, it wasn't like 1991 when two guys could throw 97 plus. I mean, now everybody in the bullpen throws 97 plus. Hell, the mop-up guy throws 97 plus.
Right. Yeah, the guy you've never heard of comes out of the bullpen throwing 102. Like it's nuts.
Right. The rookie in there doing cleanup in blowouts is throwing 100 miles an hour. I mean, it's almost expected, but
yeah, absolutely.
But the Red Sox they've been missing that slam the door guy since the All-Star break last year.
Yeah.
Second half of last year, Barnes fell apart. They found a way to make it work, and they made that deep run in the playoffs. Honestly, by avoiding the closer, they didn't have a ton of close games.
Yeah. Also, Doug's one of our loyal listeners. He usually listens in. He said probably try JD Martinez for Scherzer. I find this one a little bit out there because JD Martinez's age, and you're gonna have to send a ton of stuff. It can't be just JD and Scherzer straight up. He said, very good hitter for very good pitcher. Both leagues have the DH now, makes him more valuable to the NL team, which I agree with. The Sox need a number one guy with Sale being unknown. I agree with. Yep. And he said, you have to give up a prospect or two that's a bit further down the pipeline to make it happen. I mean, it would take our top 10 prospects and JD Martinez the Mets to even look at that deal. Well, even with Scherzer hurt.
And let's be honest, a couple weeks ago, Max Scherzer finally took a loss. It was the first loss he'd taken in almost a year.
Yeah.
Let that sink in for a minute. Like, this is not a guy who's like a really good pitcher. The guy hadn't lost a damn decision since April of 21.
And it's freaking insane.
Oh, sorry, mid-May of 21, not mid-April. Yeah. Mid-May of 21 was the last time he took a loss.
That is insane. At the highest level.
And the Red Sox won't pay Mookie Betts $30 million a season. They're going to pay Scherzer 40 something. Hell no. I mean,
we'll get the Mookie Betts later because that dude's been an animal too. But like, right. I think
I agree.
Yeah, go ahead.
The Sox need a closer. They need to go get somebody.
Absolutely.
I thought for sure when the Dodgers picked up our good friend Craig there, that they'd make Blake Treinen available. And I'm shocked they're still using Blake Treinen as a setup guy. That is such a waste of that guy's ability.
Yeah.
I would think somebody could put a package together to pry Blake Treinen away from them if they really think Kimbrel's the closer for a couple of years. If Kimbrel's a one and done guy, sure, then you basically groom Treinen to take it over and you don't let him go. And with their salary capabilities, maybe they don't care about Treinen being a setup guy. They keep him forever.
And Treinen probably doesn't care either.
No, because they're going to pay him well. They're going to pay him like a closer to not be a closer and whatever.
Right.
But so if I'm the Sox, I'm looking at what it would take to get a guy like Blake Treinen away or a guy like Soto from Detroit. What could I do to pry a guy like that away?
Is Soto still with them or is he with the Guardians? For some reason, I thought he got moved to the Guardians. That I could be completely making that up.
No, he's So I would go like Soto because he would die that I think he's young. He's 27 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't have a ton of saves because, of course, the Tigers don't win a ton of games, but he's got amazing stuff.
He's with the Tigers. You're right. Sorry.
Yeah, so he's on my fantasy team.
Gotcha. I don't know who I was thinking of.
But I the Red Sox need to go find a guy who can pitch in the ninth inning, who's not 38 years old, who they can bring in and develop and grow into that role.
I think
Treinen would be a good one. Soto would be a good one.
They definitely have to make a mid-season adjustment here because I think they were hoping that Matt Barnes came back and was the guy that was the guy.
Yep.
And he's not the guy.
No.
I mean, so I think that's why they didn't really, because Kenley Jansen was on the free agent market and they could have swept him up.
Yep.
And I really think they were banking on Matt Barnes coming back and actually contributing and not like laying a big goose egg like he has.
Right. And a guy like Mark Melanson's been really good for a number of seasons. He's not been good this year. But he was in Boston once. he was with Arizona now. He was in Boston in 2012, and he was awful. So I don't think you go back to that well again because he didn't do well here after all those good years
Yeah.
in Pittsburgh. I mean, the guy led the league with 51 saves in 2015 for the Pittsburgh Pirates, and then he came to Boston and stunk really bad in 2012. He came out of Houston. He left Boston, went to Pittsburgh. Had a gazillion saves,
Right.
and has continued to pop up places as kind of a eighth and ninth inning guy. But he's not a guy the Red Sox would go back down the road of because he was so bad here.
No. And I don't know who you put in that role right now, but we desperately need one. It's been apparent, and it's been apparent for a while now.
I mean, and there's nobody at AAA really either. I mean, there was some thought that maybe they'd bring a guy like Darwinzon Hernandez up and maybe let him try some late inning relief, but he's not been great in Worcester.
No.
I shouldn't say he's been kind of inconsistent in Worcester, but I just don't know what they do. There's no internal options. So you got to go outside and figure out who's going to start to close games out for you. Because thankfully, the last 2 weeks, we haven't talked about the bullpen much because they've been winning games and haven't needed the bullpen.
Well, they've been putting up 10 runs a game when Trevor Story hits 5 home runs a game. Like
but the other day they blew a friggin' 8-run lead to the Orioles and lost. So they're not out of the woods yet, but
yeah. I mean, like I said, the JD Martinez for Max Scherzer is nice on MLB The Show, but for real life, I mean, the Sox would have to give up the farm for him and MLB ready players. I don't even know. Isn't there a trade generator? Like there's got to be a trade generator somewhere here online, but I don't know what it would take for JD, but it would take. There's zero chance the Mets would ever take that straight up.
And JD's a 1-year rental. He's a free agent. So,
right.
I mean, why would you give up 3 years of Max Scherzer for only one of JD Martinez? And then where do you play him?
And then
you don't need a first baseman, a DH, an outfielder. Like, you're good.
Right. And chances are the Red Sox would ask the Mets to eat most of that contract.
Right.
Just like when the Red Sox signed Adrian Gonzalez and Carl Crawford, they were finally like, okay, listen, these guys suck and I need them out like yesterday. So we'll keep paying them, but please somebody take them because we're done with them. Like we just can't. But I mean, it would be nice. Don't get me wrong. I would love Max Scherzer and I would gladly give up JD Martinez for him. However, that would never happen.
Yeah. But, and one story I read that I kind of went no when I put it away is, and you might have mentioned at some point, Nick, the idea of Chris Sale coming back in a limited capacity in the bullpen. But the other guy we've kind of forgotten about is James Paxton.
Oh, yeah.
He also may make an appearance before the year is over. He's another power lefty arm. You could maybe
Where's
not power anymore. We'll see. But he's also a guy on the road to recovery that could potentially show up in the bullpen later this year if they needed him. So
what has he been out with?
He had was it Tommy John that he had? The Red Sox signed him anyways, knowing he wouldn't be available till later this year.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, we talked about his signing on the podcast, really being kind of like a rich team's depth option. So Paxton's beginning his rehab down in Florida with Chris Sale right now. Those are two guys you could see come back over the next few months that maybe they're not stretched out to throw 100 pitches. Maybe they could give you 20 and they end up in the bullpen. So, I mean, who knows? But I mean, is Chris Sale going to be your closer the rest of the season? No, I doubt it. But could he do that for a few weeks as he builds up arm strength? Maybe he's a bridge.
And even if he just does it for the rest of this year and he goes back to being a starter, like put him on a pitch count, but keep him in the bullpen and make those pitches worth it. Like you said, we needed somebody to close a ball game, and he did it for us in the playoffs. It's a familiar role for him. He could do it. I don't see why not. But then you're playing with fire there because if he comes in and lays an egg now.
The other part with that too is.
Go ahead. Hello?
So we got a little jumbled there for a minute.
Yeah, I was like, what?
The other thing too is with with Sale coming back is that would actually allow them to put Whitlock back in the bullpen where he belongs. So
And that would help.
if Sale comes back healthy, he goes back in the rotation. Whitlock goes to the bullpen. If he's not stretched out and ready, maybe Whitlock stays in the rotation and Sale goes to the bullpen. I mean, I guess the good news is for Red Sox fans is that you've got a guy in Chris Sale and a guy in James Paxton who are both in rehab in Florida, beginning to build up their arm strength, and they should both come back at some point this year. Maybe that moves some guys around, or maybe they end up sliding into the bullpen. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. If you're gonna put, so I didn't freeze for a while.
I guess that was me.
Yeah, I guess so. You just like stopped talking, and I was like, whatever.
That was weird. Yeah, it was weird. But I just
yeah,
assumed you froze and you were going to drop.
Yeah, right. I mean, ever since I've changed computers, I haven't dropped, so it's good.
Good.
But yeah, I see Sale being on a pitch count. Putting him in the bullpen is probably
yeah.
the smartest thing to do, even if it is to the rest of 2022. I mean, it is what it is. And they do need bullpen help tremendously. So hopefully those guys come back. 2 lefties too. I mean, that doesn't hurt. So, yeah.
And the question too is when Sale does come back, is he Chris Sale? Like who's he going to be? I mean, we haven't seen Chris Sale in 2 years, 3 years now.
Yeah. I think that's also the risk of putting him in the bullpen, to be honest. I feel like he comes in and throws his 20 pitches and all 20 pitches end up out of the yard. Like, what does that do to his mental state trying to come back, I mean, he's a pro. He'll adjust to it, I'm sure, but I don't know. I just want the guy to be healthy.
Yeah. Well, and what hurts right now is you've got Michael Kopech out in Chicago, 26 years old, was in the Chris Sale trade, absolutely freaking dominating. Well, the Red Sox get nothing out of Chris Sale. Moncada's hitting, Kopech is a stud, and Chris Sale's been MIA for 2 years. It's just that trade. Unfortunately, when you look back at the Sale trade, what the Red Sox gave up when they got back in return, the Red Sox absolutely lost that trade, except for they got the 2018 World Series out of it.
Right. Which I would argue they got what they wanted out of that trade.
Yeah. I mean, I think Dombrowski was looking at it as, I need a guy right now to get us over the hump. And they gave up a lot of talent for Sale. They gave up, Kopech, Moncada. There's 2 other guys in that trade too. I'm blanking on the names, but
the thing with Moncada though, he's just now starting to pay off for the White Sox. He's been like scuffling here and there for them. He didn't start off very well with the White Sox after that deal. I think he was up and down a couple times when he went to Chicago over there.
He had a bumpy start with them for sure. Mm-hmm. But the scary thing is, the guy's only 27 years old.
Right. Yeah.
He's been with the White Sox now for 6 seasons. He's only
27. It's been that long already?
Yeah, he's only 27 years old.
How has it been 6 years since we made that Sale deal? That's nuts to me. That blows my mind. Well, that blows my mind.
Well, the Red Sox made that trade in 2016.
What?
That was the end of 16.
Dude, that's crazy. For whatever reason, I feel like it just happened like 3 or 4 years ago, tops.
Yeah. It was the winter meetings in 16 that wrapped around to 17. Wow. So, like, Kopech and those guys were in the minor leagues with the White Sox in 2017 when Sale came to town.
Holy crap.
I know, it's been a while.
I guess it makes sense. The last 2 years didn't really happen, so the pandemic and stuff. So
right, 2020 was a bit of a mess for everybody. And Michael Kopech had Tommy John surgery in 2019, and now he's probably the White Sox best starter because Dylan Cease has spent a month getting lit up. But the Red Sox definitely lost that trade, but they got the 2018 World Series out of it. So
yeah, absolutely.
Did they win or lose? I don't know, but that trade is biting the Red Sox hard now and has been for a couple of years.
Yeah. So those were 2 interesting ones. Did you have a trade off the top that you would do? I did not choose one, but
I didn't actually outline a trade. I would just go after Treinen or Soto. I would do whatever I could to see if I could pull one of those guys away, and add him to the bullpen, and if that means I've got to give up a prospect and a guy on the roster, then I would probably do it. And if I can't pull that off, I don't know what I do. If I'm Chaim Bloom and Alex Cora, I might be, I might be pulling raffle tickets and bringing fans in to pitch the ninth because they couldn't be any worse.
Right. I mean, I'm kind of with you. I mean, remember, everybody's dispensable. I would, just what you said last week, I would almost at this point take the starting 5 for the Red Sox and trade them with the starting rotation for the Miami Marlins. I would, just to get Pablo Lopez and Sandy Alcantara. And like, I mean, I don't know how Sanchez is doing. I haven't heard his name at all this year, but I mean, if he gets under Pedro's tutelage in here in Boston, like, dude, Pedro would be all over that. And like, and then who do they still got Taylor Rogers out there. They got some great pitching there. I just, the whole pitching staff, send them to Miami and we'll take Miami's pitching staff.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I would do that trade. I mean, I would be happy to charter the bus and get those guys to the airport. I mean, there's no way on earth that trade doesn't happen. And Eovaldi had a really good start the other day. Of course, it's against the Orioles, so you have to kind of hedge your bet a little bit there. But Eovaldi hasn't been great. Pivetta started off terribly. He's been good of late. Houck is all over the place and probably shouldn't necessarily be a starter. Wacha missed a few weeks, but he was really the Red Sox best starter this year.
Doug, that's such a great point, dude. With all the position players coming in. So I think that's another reason why off the top they expanded it to 14 pitchers too, is because I think they're trying to find a way to have position players not do this. But
it's always going to happen, though.
Right. If you're in a blowout game, why are you going to blow a bullpen arm?
Well, and what's amazing is
sense.
The Cardinals did it twice in a week. Both in games they were winning by a boatload.
Right.
Like, the Cardinals weren't losing in those games. They were winning by a boatload and brought in position players.
And Pujols and Molina. Like, I mean, come on. Like, it was awesome. And they had identical pitching lines. It was amazing. I mean, you ain't wrong. Like, I'd do it for free. Like, just the fact that I got to put on a Red Sox uniform and go out and pitch at Fenway and throw 40 miles an hour. Like, dude, I'd love it.
I mean, statistically, the Red Sox best pitcher this year is Plevecki from the one inning that he pitched. I mean, that's the scary part, but
I really, really thought you were going to say Ryan Brazier, and I was just going to sign off immediately.
No, I couldn't do that to you. I couldn't do it. I mean,
but it also wouldn't surprise me either. So
no, there's no world where Ryan Brazier is the best pitcher. Although, I mean, his numbers are inflated by a couple of really bad outings. But he and Barnes are clearly the anchors of that bullpen. Valdez hasn't been good. Everybody else has been okay.
Yeah.
Like, there's no massive problems. But you got a couple of guys that they thought they can lean on in Brazier and Barnes who've been terrible. It's
just like every single high leverage situation, I'd look out on the mound and there's Ryan Brazier with his head tilted, dude, come on. Like, why is he out there? Take him off the mound, please.
But at the same time, I blame Cora for that. Why do you keep putting these guys in these positions? Like, stop running these guys out there in high leverage situations when you know they don't have it.
You can't handle it. Yeah, I just saw that Till Stanton whistles one. Yeah. Dude, only 113. Dude, he couldn't generate enough bats or the ball speed because I'm throwing it in at 35 miles an hour.
That's the hard part. I mean, these exit velocities climb because the pitch coming in is so fast that it obviously goes out faster. But
when I'm throwing 30, dude, even with his bat speed, it's coming off his bat about 98, maybe tops.
Yeah, I mean, when you're throwing 52, with a hump on it, looks like slow pitch softball out there.
Yeah, exactly. Did you see the one the other night? It was thrown 45 miles an hour and it was a swing and a miss.
Yeah, the guy from the Reds K'd on it. So bad.
45 miles an hour, dude. Love it.
It's funny as hell.
Oh, dude, that would be awesome. Imagine that if one team just brought like 9 people out of the stands to pitch for one inning just to get like through a game. That'd be freaking amazing.
Honestly, the Red Sox should just the rest of the season they should play it like a video game. Let all the decisions be voted on by the fans. You can just cast your vote, and then that's what they'll do.
So that's actually funny. So I coached JV baseball for Yarmouth High School, and we went down to Dodgertown for spring training. and there was a whole bunch of like D1 football players and like ex-football, like Robert Meacham was there, like all these guys that were used to be in the NFL that were trying to get back in. And this thing was called Your Call Football, and these guys would practice all these plays, and like the viewers watch the game on their phone, and then the plays pop up like Madden. So there's like 4 plays to choose from, and the viewers vote on the play.
Yep.
And then the players actually run that play to try to score. Like it was so cool. But like we watched a practice and stuff. Like, and dude, I'm not a small guy, right? Like I'm 6'2", 250, right? And I'm like going up to these guys in line that are like 6'6", 320, not an ounce of fat on them, dude. I'm just like, okay, like I'm gonna go sit over here now. Like
it's ridiculous. These guys are good. Physical freaks.
The 1% of the 1%, and then like they're not even that 1%. Like, just crazy. Yeah, I mean, I've probably hit a ball at least 115 because I'm a beast. But I mean, I get what you're saying, Doug. But
obviously,
yeah, I mean, my exit velo is probably pretty high, but
115 kilometers an hour, right? We're talking miles per hour, right?
Oh, easy. Yeah, we're only metric here.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah. Stupid
Americans. So yes. So when you look at the Red Sox, set the pitching aside for a minute. When you look at the offensive stats, so they've had a really good couple of weeks. Trevor Story now leads the team in RBIs. It's not even close. He's got 11
he's
more
got 30 this month, right?
Yeah, he's got 30. Yeah, he's got 37 on the season. The next closest guy is Devers at 26. But get this for a minute to give you an idea of how bad the offense has been to start out. Devers right now is on pace to hit 33 home runs and have 80 RBIs. Yeah. When's the last time a guy hit 30 plus home runs and didn't have triple digit RBIs?
Yeah, that's insane.
It's too many solo home runs because there's friggin' nobody on base.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a weird stat.
And get this, Kike now has as many RBIs as JD Martinez and one more than Bogarts.
Again, because no one's on in front of them.
Because nobody's on base. That's you got to. JD Martinez is hitting 374. He's got 23 RBIs, a third of the way through the season.
Dude, he's at 374.
Yeah, he's at 379 until he went like 1 for 4.
Dang. Still, that's impressive. It's crazy.
It blows my mind to look at these stats because they don't make sense.
No.
I mean, Christian Vasquez has got 2 fewer RBIs than Xander Bogaerts. Bogaerts sitting 330. Like, you think that guys would accidentally score getting on in front of him, but
right.
It's just the Red Sox have produced nothing from the middle of their order because these guys are all hitting 340 plus and there's friggin' nobody on base.
Yeah. It's nuts. Yeah, so I mean, those were fun. I'm glad you guys chimed in on those. Those were kind of cool to talk about. But yeah, I don't know. Like realistically, I don't know who I would. I mean, you got a couple guys in the minors that you could deal. Maybe a major league ready guy like Dahlback, although he's starting to hit the ball again somehow. Like
2 home runs in 3 days.
Yeah, he goes like 0 for 30 with 40 Ks, and then the next week he's like 25 for 26 with 24 bombs. Like I don't know what to do with the kid.
No, but he reminds me of like Brian Dahlback and JD Drew, where like they disappear for a
Bellhorn.
month. Yeah, Bellhorn was like, oh yeah, for sure. Oh, yeah. They disappear for a month, and then they're friggin' red hot for 2 weeks.
Yeah. Mark Bellhorn was a home run, strikeout, or a walk. That was it. No groundouts, no flyouts. It was just it's insane.
He had literally no other moves.
No, that was it. But all right, before we wrap it up, we got some loose ends to tie up here in the heading home segment. Check in on my Cincinnati Reds. They are 16-31. You said 5-5 in their last 10, Harrison?
5-5 in their last 10. They are really turning it up.
And they put up a 20-run game against the Cubs. They won 20-5 the other day.
That was a beatdown.
That was insane. However,
I'm pretty sure the hot dog guy had a hit in that game. I'm not sure how that happened.
He had 2, actually.
Jesus.
But they did have a really bad loss that week, too. They were up like 9-1, and they ended up losing. So it went both ways for them. Typical. But
Yeah.
they're actually only the last place team by like one game. So my last place, team, I might have to be switching alliances here soon if some teams keep losing. So
Yeah, I mean they are only a half a game behind the Kansas City Royals for the worst record, and only one game behind the Washington Nationals for the worst record. So
yeah,
they are
so
pulling themselves out of the basement.
so my allegiance might change next week. Tune in to find out. All right.
Yep.
We'll move on to Tommy Tanks from NC State. Like he set the NCAA record for home runs from a freshman with 27.
And
He
he's a true
had
freshman, right?
true freshman. Yep.
Yeah,
He
which
hit in the
is not hard.
semifinal game against Miami, hit 3 opposite field home runs, and they
Missiles.
were like not cheapies either, right? They were absolute missiles. And then he hit one, I think, to make it 27 in the final. But
he's the kind of guy who hits 3 home runs in the game, and then later that night he's in his cowboy boots and wife beater at a Garth Brooks concert. Like I feel like he's that kind of guy.
I mean, sure. I mean, he's from North Carolina, so probably.
Inevitably.
And then also staying in college here. I don't know if you guys saw Oregon State and UCLA. Oregon State was up by 9. No, they were up by 6 going into the 9th, and I think they scored 3 to go up by 9. And then in the bottom of the 9th, UCLA scores 9 to tie it at 21. So it was 21-21 going into extras. And then UCLA walked it off, I think, in the 11th, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a run scored in the top of the 10th, and then they walked it off with a 3-run home run to win 25-22.
25-22. Yeah,
I mean,
crazy.
Yeah. So UCLA scores 9 runs in the bottom of the 9th to tie it. Oregon State scores 1 in the top of the 10th to make it 22-21. UCLA ties it, and then hits a 3-run walk-off bomb to end it. So they're tied 22-all in the 10th. So, I mean, the whole game, it took them almost 6 hours to finish the game.
Yeah.
And there were 527 pitches thrown by 16 different pitchers.
Dude, the Twitter was amazing because everyone's like, when did the SEC football season start? Like, they were just like going off. They're just like.
Well, I remember I sent you and Sean a text with the snapshot of the box score, and they tied it at 21-all going, when did football season start? What is this?
Dude, Twitter was like all over that, dude. And it's like, wow, the baseball team has scored more points than the football team did all year. Like,
yeah, in the game there were 20 walks, 5 errors, 4 hit by pitches in one game.
It's wild.
25-22.
Imagine being that game that has to like follow up to them because you're probably sitting there for 3 extra hours waiting for this game to finish. Like,
yeah, because this was a tournament game. Like this was not like a regular season. Like this was a tournament game. Other teams waiting to play, and they played for 5 hours and 44 minutes.
Yeah, it's brutal.
Holy crap!
Yeah. A couple other things before we start. The Yankees signed Matt Carpenter off the couch. The guy shaves. He's just got the 80s porn stash going on. He comes up, gets a hit, gets on base his first at bat, and then launches one, 260 feet into the right field seats. But still, I mean, the guy just like gets signed off the couch, shows up at Yankee Stadium, and just hits a bomb in his debut. And he wasn't even going to play, but Aaron Hicks got scratched right before the game.
Right.
And he had to go play and just launches one. Like, dude, like, wow.
Yeah, and his quote was awesome. When asked about joining the Yankees, he said, "I told them if they want me to load my own bags in the plane, I'll do it." Like the guy didn't care. He was so excited to get the call. I mean, this is a guy that honestly, when I saw them sign him, I'm like, he's not with the Cardinals anymore. Where the hell's he been?
Right.
I mean, he was such a staple of that Cardinals lineup for so long, and he was so good.
He was an all-star for how many years?
I don't know.
I mean, the guy was like insane.
I had no idea he was out of baseball. I just assumed he was on the Cardinals somewhere. And I love the fact he still hits with no batting gloves. He is about as traditional as they come. But that guy got the call. He was on a plane like, I don't know, like before it could move. He was running behind it to load his bags on.
Dude, I'd be the same exact way, dude. If someone called me right now, dude, I would run out of this apartment so goddamn fast. Like, yeah, dude.
Well,
I can't imagine.
and the funniest thing is he had to he shaved when he got there, and his comment was, my 5 and 6-year-old kids have never seen me without a beard, so I'm not sure what to do when I see them next, because he's always had the beard.
Right.
So he landed at Yankee Stadium. He shaved. He dressed. He played. I think he walked in his first at bat and hit a bomb later.
Yeah.
And literally, his wife and kids haven't seen him without a beard because he's had it for 7 or 8 years now.
Yeah, 3-time All-Star, 2013, 14, and 16. Silver Slugger in 13. I mean, the dude was a huge staple for that Cardinals run
He was
all that time.
an automatic. He was in that lineup every freaking day.
Yeah. Yeah, so good. Yeah.
So it's awesome to see him resurface, but honestly, I just assumed he was still in the friggin' lineup for the Cardinals.
It said 2021 was his last year with the Cardinals. So the Cardinals must have just not re-signed him, and then
Well, he was awful the last couple of years. I mean, he was just so bad.
He's just been off the bench and stuff, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he won 169 last year with, friggin' 3 home runs, 21 RBIs, and he was basically just pinch hitting.
Yeah.
I mean, he's only hitting 111 with the Yankees. He's got the home run, the RBI, a couple of walks, a few Ks. He's only gotten 12 at bats, but it all came in the first game, right?
Or 2 for 12, whatever, however that math works out.
Yeah. It all came in the first game.
Yeah. And then to end it, I know I said I was going to come back to him, but Mookie Betts, man, didn't play the entire month of April pretty much. I mean, he did, but he didn't. But
he might as well not have been there, yeah.
Right. He's now got 13 home runs. And
14.
It seems like sorry, I missed one. He must have hit one today or last night.
Last night, yep.
Last night. Like, I mean, he's too much he's too good of an athlete to be held down for that long. Like, he's going to come out of it. Like,
well, and what's amazing is that, like, his numbers last year weren't great. He hit 264 with 23 home runs, 58 RBIs. Not a great season for him. He was pretty good in 20. Although
he hurt last year too.
He played 122 games last year. He missed a big chunk with a shoulder or a wrist or something.
Yeah.
And he got off to a really slow start this year, and then has absolutely been insane. But he's now leading the National League in home runs. He leads the National League in runs. He's hitting 294, which is the best batting average he's had since 2018 with the Red Sox. So, I mean, he's back to old Mookie, but since going out to LA, he hasn't been great.
Right.
He's been good, but he's not been great.
Yeah. You still don't run on the guy. The guy's got an absolute hose.
He can still. I mean, the guy won a Gold Glove in 2020, and only played 55 games.
They should have like a Golden Cannon award or something like that at the end of the year for like most outfield assists or something like that, because I mean, some of these guys, Hunter Renfroe last year, we've talked about him. Like, seems like every night Mookie's throwing somebody out at third base or like.
Right. And the thing is, like, him being out there, like, he changes how teams run.
Yep.
Even if he doesn't throw anybody out, like, he just changes. Guys don't take extra bases when he's out there. They just don't.
No. You don't even round second. You just go there and stop. Like, you don't round it at all.
No, Mookie's never been the Mookie of 2018 again. Like, that's not who he is as a player. But he's better than he's been the last couple of years, and it's he's finally kind of brought it back.
Nice. Yeah. Oh, sick. Yeah, dude.
That's a cool ballpark.
Yes. Have you been there, Doug? Because Coors Field is amazing, dude.
Cool ballpark.
Yeah, it is awesome. You can get in there for $4. $4, you can go see a game.
Well, and the cool thing is, you get out of the game, and you literally, you're dropped in the middle of Denver with every option known to man to go after the game. It's amazing.
Yeah, the 16th Street Mall, I think, is right there. Like, it's really cool.
Literally across the street.
Yeah, it's so awesome. Yeah, it's a great place, and Denver's amazing. It's one of my favorite cities ever. But dude, well, have fun at that, man. I can't wait.
That'll be awesome. Share some pics on the Facebook page.
Yeah, I might have a couple ballparks coming up here soon myself, so we'll see. I might be going to Pittsburgh and possibly Cleveland. So we'll see. But oh wow, the tickets went up, dude. What, $6 seats? I don't know.
Oh,
I might be out. I don't know if
can't
I can
swing it.
afford that.
Can't swing it.
Oh God, dude. Yeah. I liked it when the tickets were less than the beers were. So, well, they
Yeah.
probably still are.
Well, unfortunately, and the hard part too, like when you're at Coors Field, like you're getting Coors, like
Right. You can't not get a course.
right. You can't not get a Coors.
Right.
But
Yeah, it's awesome. But
so how excited are you to watch the Savannah Bananas on ESPN? Speaking of interesting ball clubs and ballparks,
dude, when is that? Because I've seen it advertised, but is it like Wednesday? Isn't it a random day?
it's a random day. I'm trying to find it, but it's going to be. I've listened to the owner of the Savannah Bananas. What's his name? Is it Nick something? I forget his name now. I've listened to him on a couple of podcasts, and what those guys do is so freaking cool.
Yeah.
They've got the minor league team, the college team. They travel. It's so cool.
So the college team is actually coming here to Holly Springs. Holly Springs is like the next town over from us.
Oh, cool.
And they're playing here, and that game's completely sold out. You can't find a seat, and like no one goes to these games except for the Savannah Bananas that are coming in.
Yeah, ESPN
But,
still hasn't given a day. They just keep teasing. It's going to be 6
oh,
30-minute
gotcha.
episodes chronicling Banana Ball this summer. But they are so cool what they do.
I have not yet seen the Nolan Ryan documentary yet. What platform is that on? That I do want to see because I have seen previews of that, and that looks unreal. I know that's really,
Facing Nolan, right?
yeah, I think yes. And what is it? It doesn't even say what it's on.
No, it doesn't.
Man, I'll have to find that and let you guys know because I thought that was coming out today or like really soon. Or is it already out?
No, it's not out yet. It's coming soon.
For some reason, I thought it was a May date, but yeah. Acquired by Utopia. I don't even know who that is.
I don't even know what that means.
Never heard of that. Well, we'll see. If someone's got a bootleg link to it, I'll do it. I'll take it.
I don't care. I'll watch it wherever it is.
Yeah, right. Yeah, man.
It's a 102-minute documentary.
I hope 30 of it is him with Robin Ventura in a headlock and him just going to town on him.
That's still one of the best fights of all time.
Here, Robin Ventura, what are you doing?
Yeah, you're gonna go fight that guy, really?
Dude. He got in like 6 or 7 punches before like the first person even like got to the mound with them. They were like, yeah, I don't think we're gonna go to that one. We're good. But yeah. So as soon as we find details out on that, we'll let you guys know if we hear anything of when or where it's coming out. But yeah, I can't wait to see it. I'm sure there is Fastball on Netflix, which is different. It's like everybody that's thrown hard over the years, like Bob Feller, Walter Johnson, Craig Kimbrell's in there. So they have, old guys and new guys. But that's a really cool documentary too.
Yeah.
But so if you haven't seen that, see that. But yeah, we'll throw out the information if we find it for the Savannah Bananas, and we'll find out for the Fastball documentary as well.
Yeah. And if you know nothing about the Savannah Bananas, look them up and read about them. They are absolutely the owner's Jesse Cole. I've listened to him on a bunch of podcasts. He's about the most creative guy you'll ever meet. He's got his yellow tuxedos that he wears everywhere. His whole thing was he was a baseball fan that was tired of going to games that were boring, so he made it so that it wasn't. And what they do is absolutely unrivaled. And if you wanted to get tickets to a game this season, you can't get them because their waiting list now goes to next season. Like that's how popular they are.
It's insane, and they're like $250 a pop. We looked at them we looked at them the other day.
It's an event. You don't. This is like getting tickets to Hamilton on Broadway. Right. Like you don't just walk up to the box office and say, "Here's my $4." Like you're ordering tickets for the 2023 season, and you're not paying what you think a normal ticket would cost.
Yeah, it's so cool. I mean, and you can follow them on Facebook too, because they put out clips and highlights of like the
They are
batters and stuff
hilarious.
like that. You see the guy that took in that bat in a complete split?
I just looking at a picture of
Dude,
that.
I was
Well, how
like,
about the
what?
how about when they get the pitchers to dance and then they like work it into their delivery and throw a pitch?
Yeah, the whole infield was like a synchronized like dance
It's
routine
great.
into the pitch. That was crazy. And then they also had a guy that had his own caddy, and he like came up and he pulls a golf club out of his bag and like swings it a couple times. And he goes, no, puts it back in his bag and gets his bat. And he's
Yep.
like, okay, yep. Like,
Oh,
yeah,
actually,
it's pretty cool.
good news. The Savannah Bananas have some seats available to tomorrow night's game. There's 9 tickets available. They're $284 each, and they are general admission, so you don't even have a seat.
Standing room only for $300, dude. What?
It's like going to a friggin' Patriots game. I mean,
That's
this is
crazy.
minor league baseball, independent minor league baseball, and people
And
spend
it
almost
might not even
300
be
bucks a
minor league. It
ticket.
might be the college kids.
That's true. It depends on who you're watching, right?
God, that's awesome, dude. That is marketing genius right there by that owner. Honestly,
Yeah, so Friday, June 3rd, there's 4 tickets available in general admission for $329 each. $329. I mean,
crazy.
to watch the Macon Bacon play the Savannah Bananas.
The Macon Bacon, is that what you just said?
Yeah, from Macon,
Dude,
Georgia. The
that
Macon
is
Bacon
amazing.
play the Savannah Bananas. I mean,
The
it is on my
Macon
bucket list to go watch the Savannah Bananas game because it is
Bacon.
about
Dude,
craziest
yes.
experience you'll ever see.
As soon as we got to get a date, dude, and just go, the 3 of us. Like,
It's
it would
oh my
be
God,
a blast, dude.
have to do it. But you can't get tickets. Like you literally have to hope
Book
to
it
hell there's
out.
4 tickets left to some random
Oh
night.
man, that would be amazing. And I've looked at like their merchandise stuff. Like, I want a hat so bad. Like,
Oh my
it's
God, it's
yeah. I can't.
but yeah.
I want to
If
go.
look up Jesse Cole, listen to the story of the Savannah Bananas. It is unfreaking real what
Yeah.
they've done. And this is a minor league team that is making probably the same money as some major league teams. And it's fun, and people come from all over the world to watch them play.
Yeah.
If you're a baseball purist, you'll hate it. You will hate it because they've made the game an event.
Right. But like, it's
But
to the
it's so
point where
freaking
like
cool.
the opposing team loves it too. You know, like they go in there like loving to play them.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some guys that are like, oh great, we got to go play them.
Yeah,
But
great.
like,
We're going to Savannah again to play these clowns.
right. But I mean, it's so cool.
But no, check them out.
Yeah. All right. Anything else for this week? I think we've covered most of it.
No, it was a good week in baseball. You know, the
Yeah,
Red
it was,
Sox were playing well, a lot of headlines, good games all around.
Yep. You know, started with the old Tommy Pham slap and ended with a Savannah Banana. So we're doing well.
This best podcast ever.
It's like it's unreal, man. It seems like every week there's a story where I'm just like, what? Like, what the hell? Like, what happened?
That's the beauty of covering baseball. There's always something going on.
Love it. It's great. But all right. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Just like, subscribe, and share our podcast. Interact with us on the page. We'll send out the question of the week at some point. Hopefully I'll do it before Sunday. Like I, kind of dropped the ball this week. I put it out kind of late. But yeah, we will see you guys next Monday at 8.
See ya.